briefing, in fact, as far as the tradition of the Sengol is concerned, and talking in great detail about the cultural context, the historical context of 1947 when the Sengol was used. And in fact, very important over there that he in fact addressed that this will be once again part of our tradition. It was in a museum in Allahabad where it was kept safely, and now the same Sengol that was prepared in 47 to formally, symbolize the handover of power from British to India, where in fact the former Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru consulted with the first Governor General, the Indian Governor General C. Rajagopalachari, and it's after his research that the tradition which was there during the Chola regime, during the Chola dynasty of handing over of power through the Sengol, that tradition was once again used to symbolize the handover of power from British, from Lord Mountbatten's hands to the hands of Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India. So very, very important. In fact, I'd like to take this across to our guests who are joining us for more on this particular development. If we can quickly go across to them as well. I believe Shekhar Iyer is with us. We will go across to Mr. Shekhar Iyer and Ashutosh joining us. Ashutosh, see, you're a very keen observer of politics. Do you see in this entire debate that we've been having as far as the new parliament building is concerned, this is a new twist, because if it is the first Prime Minister who has received the Sengol from the hands of the British, a very important moment, although it is a symbolic one, somewhere or the other, if it's once again finding its place in Parliament, does that put some amount of pressure on the Congress, which has not yet formally announced a boycott, but certain opposition parties already have? How do you see this, Ashutosh?
I don't see any pressure politics happening over it. The question today is when the President of India, she represents the entire country, and she represents the India as a nation. So why she is not being asked to inaugurate, or she requested to inaugurate? I think that's a pertinent question, because when she was appointed as a President of India, then everybody and the BJP tom-tom and said that, look, we have given respect to the tribal community, and first tribal president is now there in the President House. So the question stands there, and it has to be answered. Unfortunately or fortunately, the government is not willing to answer that question. That why Prime Minister? Because Prime Minister is basically represents his own political party in Parliament itself. But the President represents the entire India, entire country, every citizen of the country. Why is not requested?
Undoubtedly. That is, of course, a relevant debate that is currently happening. But I just want to get in some comments on the Sengol, its significance. And Shekhar Iyer, how do you view this? Because, many would say that this is a very, very important step for the simple reason that at a time when there is a political debate happening, there are political parties talking about boycott, at a time like that, an old tradition like this, and people can question whether this is a tradition that is still relevant in modern India, so on and so forth. But the government has decided to go ahead with this. We have seen the scepter used in different parts of the world, to symbolize the transfer of power. How will it be used as far as the new parliament is concerned? Details of that are still awaited. But the fact that the government is choosing to send home such a strong message about the reuse of the scepter, or the Sengol as it's called, is a significant one. How do you see it?
Well, Madhav, I think there are several things coming out. It is not about, I don't think it's a response to the boycott, because a lot of work must have gone into locating this, and because the first question comes, if it was such an important symbol of transfer of power, why was it dumped in Allahabad Museum? Is it because it was seen as a Hindu symbol? I mean, these questions are going to come, and this debate will start. I think more than that, the fact that this particular relic, which was given by Thiruvaduturai Adinam, Thiruvaduturai Adinam is one of the very important Shaivite, religious center in Tamil Nadu, and for this to have been given to Jawaharlal Nehru, so Congress cannot obviously have any problem with something given to Jawaharlal Nehru being restored to its original glory in the new Parliament building. I think there is much more than it's a great symbol and a great message to the fact that there are certain things which have been associated with Indian traditions, and that those were part of the symbolism that that was used liberally during the transfer of power during independence. So the fact that those are being restored to positions today, that itself is a big message that the Prime Minister Modi wishes to send. And even the new Parliament building itself has several symbols of referring to our Indian traditions.
Very interesting. In fact, Ashutosh, Mr. Shekhar Iyer sees this as an important point, two important points. One is, of course, the government has talked about, restoring of Hindu traditions and culture very often in the past. In this particular case, also the question arises as to why it was, lying in a museum in Allahabad, if it was such an important part of our constitutional history even, because that is the very symbol of the handover of power.
See, I take a strong objection when it is said that it's a Hindu symbol. Why it can't be the India symbol or the Bharati symbol? I think this whole effort to polarize the entire debate, to seek copyright only Hindu religion by the BJP and their supporters, I think this goes beyond, because this is an attempt to divide society between Hindus and the Muslims. And I take a strong objection to that. Allahabad has been a great place.
Why was it dumped in Allahabad?
Ashutosh, the question still stands. His question still stands.
Let me answer.
Yeah, but then, simple question. Ashutosh, simple question to you, sir. Yeah. I think Shekhar Iyer has his right, sir. One second. Ashutosh, I'm coming to you. Just my simple question is this, and you can respond to this question. Simple question that still stands, and you would also agree that it doesn't matter whether you think it's a Hindu symbol or Indian symbol or so on and so forth. The question is, where was it for the past 75 years?
No, but I think we fail to understand this. Have you ever been to Allahabad? I've been in Allahabad for 5 years. I associate myself with Allahabad. Allahabad is a great symbol of Hindu religion. The Kumbh happens over there. Every Hindu visit over there. Allahabad is a great symbol for the freedom struggle. And if you're trying to trivialize everything, if you try to get into the inferiority complex by saying that Hindu tradition, we are disrespecting Hindu tradition by bringing such kind of debate. And I take a strong objection.
There is no doubt about that.
There is. Call it an Indian tradition. Why we not call it an Indian tradition? Because we are trying to polarize everything and divide society and inject the society in the venom. And I take a strong objection.
No, Ashutosh, please calm down. The point is that whether we choose to believe that it is a symbol of one religion or a national symbol, the point is whether it had not got its pride of place is certainly a pertinent question. Please calm down. I'm going to come to you with some breaking news right now because there's a joint letter by opposition boycotting. In fact, one second, please calm down. There's some important news. There's a joint letter by the opposition to boycott the inauguration of the new parliament. We have Siddharth joining us for more on this. Siddharth, take us through this particular letter, please.
Yes, Madhav, this is a fairly detailed letter that's been put together by 19 opposition parties who've decided now to boycott the inauguration of the new parliament building on the 28th of May. I'll just read the operative portions, which are the final two paragraphs, but they have emphasized in the very first paragraph that not inviting the president to inaugurate the parliament is actually an insult to the position. That's how they've begun the letter. But let me just read out the last two paras. Undemocratic acts are not new to the Prime Minister, who has relentlessly hollowed out the parliament. Opposition members of parliament have been disqualified, suspended and muted when they raise the issues of the people of India. MPs from the treasury benches have disrupted parliament. Many controversial legislations, including the 3 farm laws, have been passed with almost no debate, and parliamentary committees have been practically made defunct. The new parliament building has been built at great expense during a once-in-a-century pandemic with no consultation with the people of India or members of parliaments for whom it is apparently being built. It then goes on to say, when the soul of democracy has been sucked out from the parliament, we find no value in the new building. We announce our collective decision to boycott the inauguration of the new parliament building. We will continue to fight in letter, in spirit and in substance against this authoritarian Prime Minister and his government and take our message directly to the people of India. There are as many as 19 political parties who've decided to in fact draft this letter, and like has been discussed earlier as well, Madhav, like the Congress has highlighted Article 79 of the Constitution that finds a prominent mention in the second paragraph of this letter as well, where the President should actually be given the pride of place when it comes to inaugurating the new parliament.
All right, let me take this question across. Thanks so much for that, Siddharth. Let's take this across to our guests again. Shekhar Iyer, opposition boycott. It's not something that's entirely unexpected. It's been spoken about for the past 48 hours, but they're saying that their voice has repeatedly been silenced in the parliament. The President and her office is being undermined with her not getting an important role as far as the inauguration of the new parliament building itself. In fact, yesterday when we were debating, you had also referred to the library, the annex being inaugurated by several leaders of Congress and prime ministers of the Congress. But there are those who say that the Prime Minister's inauguration of those buildings and of the parliament building itself, there's a qualitative difference between the two. How do you look at this, Shekhar Iyer?
Now, I think with the Lok Sabha elections happening next year, the opposition could not be joining any event which gives, which is to be inaugurated by the Prime Minister. So I'm not surprised by this joint action. Well, they have to convey a message. They have had problems with the way the Parliament has functioned. They have had problems with the way the government has responded to them, just as the government has had problems with the way the opposition has dealt with the government. So it's perfect politics before Lok Sabha elections to do this. I think this is expected, and the fact that they are with the talk of opposition unity, this could be a beginning of the subject. As to only the president should have been invited or only the president has invited, I think the facts are there. There have been times when V.V. Giri laid the foundation stone for annexing and Indira Gandhi inaugurated it. Similarly, we have seen Rajiv Gandhi inaugurated a number of things inside the parliament. So I think this is debatable. Well, the president has, but this is amounts to an insult to the president is an opposition way of tackling this government. That's going to be a different subject, and you are going to expect this kind of thing because opposition simply cannot stomach a parliament building which is going to cater to the new needs has come up in such a faster route. Because all other buildings, annexing took more than 5 years. Your parliament, your parliament library building, it also took a long years, not less than 5 years. This has been done in a fast track manner, and the building is there. This is going to cater to more member of parliament who would have to be there when the delimitation takes place. Because 2026 is the deadline. This is for the requirement of the future.
All right. We have a reaction coming in from the Union Parliamentary Affairs Minister Prahlad Joshi on boycott politics. Let's listen into that.
सर 19 पार्टियों ने जॉइंट स्टेटमेंट जारी करके कहा है कि वो पार्लियामेंट के जो फंक्शन राष्ट्रपति का अपमान हुआ, ये कह रहे हैं राष्ट्रपति का अपमान।
देखिए, इतना ही मैं कहना चाहता हूं। पहले तो हिस्टोरिकल इवेंट है, सब में पॉलिटिक्स करना ठीक नहीं है। दिस इज नॉट गुड, दिस इज नॉट द टाइम ऑफ पॉलिटिक्स। दिस इज आफ्टर ऑलमोस्ट मोर देन ए सेंचुरी ए हिस्टोरिकल थिंग इज हैपनिंग। तो बाइकॉटिंग and making issue out of a non-issue is most unfortunate. I once again appeal them to reconsider their decision and kindly join in this historical function. And मैं सभी से आग्रह करता हूं, रिकंसिडर करके आप कृपया हाजिर हो जाए।
सर वो कह रहे हैं राष्ट्रपति का अपमान है, इसलिए हम नहीं जा रहे,
बिल्कुल ठीक नहीं है,
के कारण है।
ये बिल्कुल ठीक नहीं है। स्पीकर साहब कस्टोडियन ऑफ द पार्लियामेंट होता है। कभी भी स्पीकर साहब ने प्रधानमंत्री जी को इनवाइट किया है और इसके साथ ही साथ पार्लियामेंट प्रीमाइसेस में ही पहले प्रधानमंत्री जो थे उन लोगों ने भी बहुत बिल्डिंग वगैरह उद्घाटन की है। तो इसीलिए ये ऐसे कारण लेके एक ऐसा अच्छा कार्यक्रम बाइकआउट करना ये बिल्कुल ठीक नहीं है। मैं बार बार निवेदन करना चाहता हूं, आप रिकंसिडर करके कार्यक्रम में आ जाइए।
सर अधीर रंजन चौधरी का एक
coming in from Prahlad Joshi. Let's quickly take this across to our other guests joining us. Sanjay Jha also joins us in the broadcast. Sanjay Jha, let me bring you back to this Sengol announcement that has come in. Of course, all of this is happening in the backdrop of the opposition protests, but it's an important move, says Shekhar Iyer, and many questions, why such an important part of our national history was perhaps not showcased, not brought into the forefront. It was perhaps in a museum in Allahabad, but perhaps given its central role in terms of the handover of power from British India to India ruled and in fact symbolized by first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, should it have not found a place perhaps in the Parliament itself or perhaps in some other place where it could have been showcased in the national capital? That's a question that certainly comes out of what has been announced by the Home Minister a short while ago. Sanjay Jha.
Madhav, good afternoon. I want to make 3 short points. Number one, we live in a very different age. An age where Narendra Modi has a cricket stadium after him where the IPL finals will be held. And at a time when Manipur was burning, it still is under a lot of cloud of tensions. And when you have women wrestlers who have brought India glory in the Olympics and the World Championships are on the streets of Delhi in 45 degrees of temperature, begging for justice against sexual harassment against a BJP MP. Narendra Modi did roadshows in Karnataka. Narendra Modi is still promoting himself in Australia. So, you live in a very different political, shall we say, environment today. Point number two, I think the opposition is completely justified for the simple reason, and I don't think it's a coincidence, that the inauguration is going to happen on the day which is linked with Mr. Vinayak Damodar Savarkar. And, the truth is that everyone has a right to consider him a nationalist sector. I'm not getting into that debate. But can it be denied that the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, was murdered by the Hindu Mahasabha people? And who was the president of that? Mr. Savarkar. So I think the opposition has an absolute legitimate right to also look at the point that the president of India...
Undoubtedly, sir, but do you think this announcement of the Home Minister is irrelevant? This announcement of this Sengol, this restoration of a historical artifact, so on and so forth, you've not even spoken about that. That's not important in your view.
Madhav, in my opinion, let me tell you, Indian politics needs dignity. It needs respect. It needs humility. What the BJP has brought to the table is nothing but vanity, arrogance, and a vulgar, shall we say, hubris of power. And I think the day people see through it, which is already happening in Himachal and Karnataka and hopefully will happen during the winter elections, I think the game of this fraud, deception, atmospherics, reality TV will all come to an end. And I think these are, yes, critical moments, but the way, this government has railroaded the opposition, treated them like, they don't matter, when they don't even, this government doesn't even realize that outside of the 303 MPs they have, the other MPs, even if they're 1 or 10 or 45 or 52, they represent the people of India. And therefore, Mr. Modi's government uses his majority to insult large sections of Indian voters by saying your MP doesn't matter because they're part of the minority parties in this country.
All right. So all of this is expected lines, Shekhar Iyer, opposition parties saying and repeatedly saying that it's because of the kind of treatment of opposition MPs in the past by this government, disregarding them. Sanjay Jha once again talking about the same. What can we expect on Sunday in that light, Shekhar Iyer? Are we going to look at a situation where we're only going to see the Treasury bench MPs inside the Parliament? Because that would certainly be, aside from the politics of it, on a day when the new Parliament is being inaugurated, the fact that there would only be Treasury bench MPs, as this letter would have us believe, that itself, of course, is going to be a side that would be, many would say, unfortunate.
Definitely. It is going to be so because with Lok Sabha elections, as I said earlier, happening next year, this is the run-up period. So in the run-up period, you can't, the opposition cannot afford to be seen being together with Prime Minister Modi on anything. Because first they had opposed the necessity of a building. They had even said this building is not necessary. It's a project in vanity. First it was that. And today they are suddenly realizing the value of President Draupadi Murmu. They had opposed her candidature. They had put up a candidate. They didn't appreciate the fact the first time as somebody from the tribal community. So this is going to be pure hardcore politics till the next Lok Sabha election. There will be justifications offered by both sides. But this is come to stay. You can't help it.
All right, Ashutosh, this is only to be expected ahead of a Lok Sabha election. Opposition unity, perhaps the only way out, in fact, as far as opposition is concerned, particularly if they want to put the government on the mat. And we've seen that in the past. United opposition is perhaps the only one, irrespective of this government or others, that is able to take on the Treasury benches. Ashutosh.
See, I think I fail to understand this for the simple reason because in a democratic society, opposition has every right to protest, and if they feel they should protest, they should protest. Why should we object to it? And the minute we try to object in and paint it differently, that shows we got a authoritarian streak in ourselves. And let's compare to the Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. When India got freedom, who were inducted into the cabinet? It is Shama Prasad Mukherjee, who tooth and nail opposed Gandhi, Nehru and everybody and said all kinds of things. Who was there? Baba Saheb Ambedkar. Where has gone that partisanship, the bipartisanship? The parliament represents the bipartisanship. Parliament represented by every Indian. Every Indian is a stake into this. But if the Prime Minister thinks that it is he who created new parliament, it is he who has a right to inaugurate it, it is he who should do everything, then that means you lack that Nehruvian democratic liberal ethos. And so if opposition is protesting, they have every right to do it. I will welcome Mr. Narendra Modi if they pick up a phone and talk to Sonia Gandhi or others and say, I have differences, but this parliament represents the bipartisan spirit of the constitution. Please come and join us.
That's an important question. Where is the spirit of bipartisanship? Why can't political leaders work together? These are very pertinent questions indeed for our polity at a time when it is completely divided. Many would say perhaps the worst and the most polarized in that sense across political and party lines. We'll have to ask our guests to stay on with us, Shekhar Iyer, Sanjay Jha, as well as Ashutosh. We're going to slip into a very quick break, but coming up on the other side, we're going to ask all our viewers to join us. Express yourselves on this moment as far as not just the announcement of the restoration and the importance of the Sengol is concerned, but also as far as the new parliament's inauguration is concerned. What do our viewers think? We'll join you with just a few moments in that.